appropriate to pitch yourself as a podcast guest if you own a brick and mortar, so like an in-person or a very specific location-based business, as opposed to maybe being a coach who can work with folks internationally. I think this is an excellent question, and my short answer is yes, I think it still makes sense, but it will be not your entire marketing strategy for your business. If you are really trying to reach people within a specific geographic location, say if you have like a physical shop you're wanting them to walk into, or if your license and credentials dictate that you only work with people within a certain location, you're going to want to make sure that you're incorporating other kinds of marketing strategies that are designed to reach people in your immediate area. So that doesn't mean that you couldn't pitch yourself to podcasts with really large international reach, but I recommend that you also be prioritizing and focusing on any local podcasts. So for example, here in the Twin Cities in Minnesota, we have a whole variety of podcasts that specifically serve our local community. So that would be a great choice, is to zoom in your focus on those podcasts rather than just going for the biggest ones. Because yes, some of those people listening to international podcasts may be in your area, but if you really want to be targeted, I'd include a mix and I would prioritize those local ones. And then of course, I'd be thinking through other strategies that I could use to reach people in my immediate area outside of podcast pitching. I have a YouTube video on some free strategies to drive client referrals to your business. And so I'll pop that below when I post this to IGTV. So great question. Thank you for that. All right, the next one that came through is this one. Does it make sense to pitch podcasts before I have an offer, like a paid offer or a service? I think that is a really excellent question, and kudos to you for thinking ahead when you're at this stage in the evolution of your business. Podcasts, appearing as a guest on podcasts, is a great strategy for building an audience, which can be part of the road to establishing an offer, right? It's hard to know what you're going to offer before you know that there's a community of dream clients or patients or customers who want that offer. So it makes total sense to pitch yourself as a podcast guest for the purposes of building an audience. What I would encourage you to do is to think about, if I were to offer something paid, what would that be? Because what that's going to allow you to do is think about the unpaid offer that you're going to use as the hook to get people to follow you. So for example, maybe you don't have a service package or a course or something ready to sell, but you know you want to get people to follow you on your email list, for example. Totally legit use of pitching yourself as a podcast guest. But because we know we're not just going to say, join my email list or sign up for my newsletter, you're going to offer them something really valuable and free in exchange for their precious email contact information. Think about that as though it were a paid offer. What is the most valuable thing you can offer someone in order to get them to become a follower, a member of your community? So in that way, it's really not all that different. The strategy of thinking through pitching yourself as a podcast guest to drive traffic to a paid offer versus just to build your community, your following. So I hope this makes sense. I want to just pause right here and plug, if you haven't already checked it out, my new free video training. It's 42 minutes long, on demand for you. If you're on my email list already, you would have already received it this week. If not, it's just the first link when you tap the link in my bio. I'll also, for the replay crew, drop it here so you can check it out. But I walk you through thinking through the strategy and the prep work of getting yourself organized to start pitching podcasts. And that's one of the very first things we cover is, what is the end goal? What are you trying to drive people to? And then you use that, you work backwards to decide how you're going to get started pitching yourself as a podcast guest. So I hope this helps. Thank you for that question. All right, let's see. Oh, I see a question down here. Okay, hey Hori, so what do you think of Clubhouse to pitch for podcasts? So can you elaborate a little bit, Hori? Do you mean like networking on Clubhouse, to like networking with podcast hosts as a way of pitching yourself? Is that what you mean, or do you mean something different? Let me know. And while you're answering that, I will just reveal that I'm not a great expert on Clubhouse. To be totally honest, I'm on Clubhouse technically. I checked it out and I don't love it. I don't love it because I find there's lots of reasons. Maybe I should share a post on that sometime, but I find it overwhelming. I find it hard to set boundaries around time and attention. But to home in on your question, I don't see anything wrong with pitching yourself directly to people, like networking on Clubhouse. What I would recommend is just to be able to keep everything organized and as professional as possible, and to track it all is to reach out to someone on Clubhouse, establish that connection, and then off of Clubhouse via email, reach out to them through whatever contact information you have for their podcast and reference that connection on Clubhouse. Just as you would if you met someone at a networking event in person. You wouldn't, like, as you're sipping your cocktails and eating your little appetizers, say like, I want to be on your podcast. You would have a connection, have a nice conversation, and then later when you're home, you'd craft a pitch and you'd say, oh, it was so great to connect with you at that networking event. I would think about Clubhouse in the same way, but it's totally possible that there's really smart strategies that people are making use of. So if anyone has, I would love to hear. Okay, I'm gonna pull up one more question. This one I think is really great. Do I need a website before I start pitching? So I can absolutely see that if you're excited about pitching yourself as a podcast guest and you don't currently have a website, that would feel like a tremendous barrier to being able to try this out for yourself. So no, I do not think you need to have a website. I think it would be beneficial. I think there are lots of reasons well beyond podcast pitching why it's a wise idea to have a little piece of internet real estate of your own. But if you don't currently have that and it's not in the cards immediately, I encourage you to have something that you own. So not your Instagram account, not your Psychology Today profile listing if you're a therapist, not anything that someone else owns. I encourage you to have something that you own and that you can track on the back end, meaning once you appear on these podcasts and listeners are excited to follow up with you, and they do follow up with you, and they come back to wherever you send them, that there's some way that you on the back end can tell that that happened. And ideally, capture their contact information so that you can follow up with them and share what you have to share there on your piece of internet real estate. That's what I recommend. And yes, it can be as simple as a landing page. If you're wondering how to start introducing yourself, like in words, once they're there, what to put on that landing page, I definitely encourage you to check out my 5-day About Page Challenge. It's free, walks you through in 5 days the process of introducing yourself, you and your business, to the people that you're trying to reach. So you absolutely could kind of get started creating a landing page that then you could send podcast traffic back to. So any other questions? I hope this is helpful. Any questions after this, if you're watching the replay and there are things that you're wondering about, feel free to comment below. I respond to every comment I get. I try to. And again, I'm going to drop as many resources as I can think of to free content I've already shared, the 2 free trainings I mentioned, the podcast pitching video training that is up now, as well as the 5-day About Page Challenge. So thank you so much for being here. Oh, I'll also link the episode that we're talking about here in case you haven't listened yet. So I appreciate you being here. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and thanks so much, everyone. Bye.